This seems dumb, but it literally stops procrastination in 2 minutes. I've studied thousands of elite athletes, world leaders, and super productive entrepreneurs like Elon Musk, Usain Bolt, Andrew Carnegie, and even Napoleon, and I've realized that they've all mastered what's called their willpower control center. Now, unlike meditation or dopamine detoxes that take months, there is a 2-minute protocol that rewires your brain instantly by tapping into your brain's willpower control center, or the way neuroscientists call it, the AMCC. And in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to break down this 2-minute protocol step by step so you never put off important tasks ever again, make taking action feel as natural as breathing, and unlock what feels like a cheat code for your brain. It all starts with something called the action command trigger. Picture this. You're standing at the edge of a cold swimming pool on a hot day. You know the water will feel amazing once you're in, but there is a big moment of hesitation. There is a mental barrier between wanting to jump and actually jumping. Now, the action command trigger eliminates all the overthinking and gets you to take action and start moving before your brain talks you out of it. Now, the science behind this is that when you make a go decision, like without overthinking it, just jumping into the cold water, your AMCC, which is your brain's command center, lights up like a Christmas tree. You see, your brain has 2 modes, the planning mode and the execution mode. Most people get chronically stuck in planning mode, endlessly thinking and analyzing about what they should do. The action command trigger bypasses that barrier by sending a direct signal to your brain that it's time to act and not think. Now, let me tell you something interesting. Research confirms that clearly stating exactly when and what you will do for a duration of about 5 minutes at a time boosts your follow-through or your action taking by over 300%. And here's how to implement it as well. First, I want you to write down this. I will start X task at X time for 5 minutes. Second, I know this sounds woo-woo, but I want you to say it out loud. It will probably look and feel dumb, but it activates your auditory processing and makes the commitment to doing that thing more serious for your brain. And third, when it's time to do the task, set a 5-minute timer and immediately start working on it without any delays, hesitations, or planning. This pretty much tricks your brain into starting any task. And the best part is that you'll often find yourself continuing well past those first 5 minutes simply because momentum takes over and you're now into flow state. But what happens when you're already deep in work and suddenly you crash or you hit that mental wall? When your brain starts craving for distractions and you feel that familiar urge to check your phone or open a new tab and go to YouTube. There is a specific circuit breaking technique that can literally snap you back to focus in less than 90 seconds. And it's based on how elite athletes reset their mental state in the middle of their performance. Think of your brain like a computer that has been running too many programs at once. Eventually, everything starts slowing down, applications start being laggy, and nothing responds properly. What do you do in that scenario? You simply restart the computer. And that's exactly what this protocol does. It gives your brain a quick reset and gets you back into focus mode. So from now on, if you start a task and you feel like your focus is starting to crash, I want you to do these 3 steps. Step 1, stand and stretch for about 30 seconds. This increases blood flow to the brain and activates your sympathetic nervous system, the part of your nervous system responsible for fight or flight. Second step, 3 sharp sniff breaths, and straight after, 10 seconds of sensory shift. For example, after you take those first 3 sharp breaths, for 10 seconds, splash cold water into your face, step outside, or simply change your lighting. And step 3, sit back down, open your laptop, and get straight into your task without even thinking about it. This works because when you're stuck in procrastination mode, your prefrontal cortex, which is your brain's CEO, gets overwhelmed and cannot decide what to focus on. And this creates what researchers call cognitive interference. And it's when your brain is trying to both avoid the task, but also focus on the task all at the same time. But as Dr. Daniel Siegel's research shows, what you need to reset your focus muscle in just 30 seconds is this procrastination circuit breaker. Elite athletes like Rafael Nadal and Tom Brady use 30-second physical rituals between plays to reset their focus mid-performance, because they understand that mental performance isn't just about grinding through fatigue, but it's about knowing when and how to reset. Now, after you implement this procrastination circuit breaker, you can start tasks easily and reset when you're stuck. But what if I told you that there is another method that rewires your brain so that productivity becomes as automatic as checking your phone? Imagine if every time you sat down at your desk, your brain just automatically shifted into work mode without any willpower or mental negotiation. Interestingly enough, you can trick your brain to automatically enter flow state at will with something called called neural trigger loop. You see, your AMCC, the brain's willpower control center, is like a muscle that gets stronger every time you use it. And you can actually train that muscle to fire easier by creating consistent activation pattern. Think of your AMCC like a car engine that gets easier to start the more you use it. A brand new car engine might be a little bit difficult to turn over, but one that has been regularly maintained starts with just a turn of a key. Your willpower control center works in the exact same way. And here's how the neural trigger loop works. First, you want to choose a super specific visual cue. This could be opening your laptop, sitting on a specific chair, or even placing your phone face down. Then define a micro starter action. Set a ridiculously small and easy task on your to-do list as an opener task for the day. For example, it can be something so stupidly simple like open up a Google Doc and write down the date of that particular day. Then immediately after completing that small task, you want to celebrate by checking the box in your to-do list. Now, this exact process you want to repeat daily for about a month. And by doing this, your brain's willpower control center becomes more sensitive and more responsive to activation. And what once required significant mental effort to start becomes as easy as flipping a light switch, which means that when it's time to start work, you just flip on focus mode without any procrastination. But there's a problem. Your willpower isn't just about starting, it's about maintaining that same level of focus, clarity, and decision making for the entire day. And there is another muscle in your brain that controls your ability to stick with hard things, and it's the difference between someone who can start tasks and someone who can sustain and maintain superhuman focus for hours on end. What most productivity advice gets wrong is the fact that they treat willpower like it's unlimited. Like you can just decide to be more disciplined and magically have infinite self-control. But neuroscience reveals that willpower operates more like a muscle, meaning it can be strengthened, but it can also be depleted. The difference between people who consistently execute and take action with those who struggle to do that isn't laziness or genetics. It's that high performers simply understand how to strategically use and strengthen their willpower muscle through specific training protocols. Think about David Goggins running 100-mile ultramarathons, or Elon Musk working 100-hour weeks while building multiple billion-dollar companies. These people have an almost superhuman ability to keep pushing when everyone else usually quits. And it's because they've discovered how to train what neuroscientists call the willpower muscle. And training the willpower muscle starts with something that's called commitment trigger. The way the commitment trigger works is by first of all writing the following. You want to write if, specific time and context, then I start specific task for specific duration. For example, if it's 9 a.m. and I'm at my desk, then I'll start writing for 25 minutes. Then you want to post this or put this somewhere visible. For example, your monitor, your wallpaper, your desk. It doesn't really matter as long as it's visible. And finally, when the condition is met, you want to execute immediately with 0-second guessing. And this will eliminate the decision fatigue of should I work on this or should I work on that? And instead, you become somebody who executes with machine-like precision. As a result, you're consistently hitting your deadlines and delivering high-quality work. Your clients and colleagues start seeing you as incredibly reliable because you always do what you need to do and what you say you're going to do with consistency. And this consistency compounds over time, leading to bigger opportunities, higher income, and the reputation as someone who gets things done while others make excuses. But even with perfect planning, your brain still needs fuel in order to maintain focus. There's a primitive survival chemical in your brain that can make boring tasks feel addictive. But companies like Apple, Meta, Amazon, and even Google have weaponized this chemical in order to steal your precious minutes and hours down to the last second. They've hired teams of neuroscientists, behavioral psychologists, and addiction specialists to engineer every notification, every app interface, every algorithm to hijack this one chemical and keep you scrolling, clicking, and consuming. This chemical is, of course, dopamine, and most people think it's the pleasure chemical, but that's completely wrong. Dopamine is actually the motivation chemical, and it's what actually decides whether you'll feel focused and driven to work on your business or just crave to check Instagram for the 47th time today. You see, every time you give in to these distractions, you're accidentally training your brain to crave the wrong thing. Your dopamine starts associating productivity with pain and distractions with pleasure. And as a result, it feels impossible to focus on important work when your brain is literally wired to just crave the next notification. But the most elite entrepreneurs, world-class athletes, and industry leaders have all figured out how to strategically leverage dopamine to make hard work feel as addictive as social media. They discovered how to turn their brain's reward system into a productivity weapon. It's all because they've mastered the art of something called strategic dopamine reward. You see, your brain's willpower muscle is essentially wired to prioritize actions that produce more dopamine, but the key is understanding dopamine timing. And research actually shows that unpredictable and intermittent rewards is exactly what your brain needs to get addicted to hard things. This is exactly why slot machines are addictive, but filling out a Google Sheet for 2 hours makes you want to punch yourself in the face. It's because when your brain feels like it might or it might not get a reward, you get a much bigger dopamine release than when your brain knows that for sure you're going to get rewarded after a certain action. Also, when you celebrate your every win, your brain will then associate the win, but not the actual effort, with the feeling of pleasure. But if you want to make hard work feel addicting, you need to essentially trick your brain to associate the effort with the feeling of pleasure. And to do that, instead of celebrating every one of your wins, every one of your milestones, you need to start randomly celebrating some wins, some tasks, and some milestones. Randomly and every so often. As a result, this will essentially trick your brain to naturally associate the effort that's required to complete a task with feeling good and motivated. That way, you're going to be able to work through deep, boring work that actually pushes the needle forward in your life and in your business without getting distracted, tired, or burnt out. But here's where most entrepreneurs fail, and it's not what you think. Alex Hormozi, who built a portfolio of companies worth well over 250 million, said something that most people completely misunderstand. The difference between successful entrepreneurs and everyone else isn't what they say yes to, it's what they say no to. Every billionaire, every world-class athlete, every industry leader has the same 24 hours in the day. But while average people say yes to every opportunity that comes to their way, every meeting and every distraction, elite performers have mastered the art of strategic rejection. Warren Buffett also famously said, the difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything. Steve Jobs built Apple by saying no to thousands of product ideas to focus on just a few that would end up changing the world. And the one thing that all of these elite performers have mastered isn't just business decisions, but it's actually a daily neuroscience-based exercise that's called no-go moments. You see, your willpower muscle works in the exact same way like your biceps. Every time you pick up the dumbbell and curl it, it trains your biceps to get stronger and bigger. And similarly, the no-go moments is a specific exercise that trains the willpower muscle to get stronger so that you can stay locked in on your work for hours, say no to shiny objects, and get the boring, important work done without procrastinating. Think of your willpower like a health bar in a video game. When your willpower muscle is weak, your health bar will be small, which means the amount of willpower you have available as well is small. Every decision, task, and hour worked drains your willpower and therefore makes you more likely to get distracted. But when you implement the no-go moments, your health bar gets bigger and bigger, which simply means that you now have a bigger willpower baseline. And as a result, more willpower points to spend through the day, meaning you're able to maintain monk-like focus for the entire day instead of having good focus in the morning and then crashing in the middle of the day. Now, here's how you train it. Every time you choose to stop yourself from doing something that you would otherwise impulsively do, it counts like one bicep curl for your willpower muscle. The more of these reps you do throughout the day, the stronger the willpower muscle will get, and the more control you will have over your distractions, bad habits, and your focus. Now, to implement this practically throughout the day, you need to do the following. First, you want to write down a list of all of the distractions and impulsive behaviors you find yourself doing throughout the day. For example, this can be things like picking up your phone, opening a new random tab, checking Stripe, checking Gmail, checking Slack, or even something trivial like scratching your head. Then after identifying the key habits and distractions that are impacting your focus when you're trying to get meaningful work done, the thing you need to do is this. Whenever you find yourself wanting to impulsively do any of the things that we just listed, then you need to actively stop yourself from giving into that distraction. This is pretty much what a no-go moment is. Now, keep in mind that in the beginning, when you start implementing the no-go moments, it will be more taxing and more difficult. In the exact same way when you first lift up a dumbbell to do a bicep curl. The first time you go to the gym and do it, your biceps will feel sore and you'll probably be exhausted afterwards. But after 1,000 reps, your biceps will be much bigger and much stronger, which means that you're now going to be able to smoke the weight that you once lifted that made you tired before. Or in other words, once you've trained your willpower muscle with the no-go moments, you'll be able to easily stay locked in like a monk with razor-sharp focus when working, and you won't even care about the distractions around you. And now that you know how to eliminate procrastination in just 2 minutes, you need to learn how to turn that momentum into unstoppable focus that lasts for hours without any distractions. And there is a specific brain optimization system I've developed that I've used with hundreds of entrepreneurs like Jordan Platten, Thomas Gannett, Matt Shields, and Nathan Nazareth to help them unlock elite levels of energy, focus, and productivity. So check out this video here where I show you exactly what this system is and how you can use it to make hard work feel as easy as scrolling on Instagram while getting 10 times more done in half the time.